Mental illness is real. I shouldn't drink this now that I did that. Mental illness is a real thing. And I want to talk about it because men, in particularly, don't like to go to the hospital. And this has to stop. We got to stop doing that to each other. You know, we got to stop doing that to ourselves because it's a real thing. Now, you guys who know me on this channel, that's something the issue that I'm speaking about usually has happened to me, or I know someone it's happened to. So I'm going to speak from very candid and personal experience that I had when I was a child from somebody who had mental illness. And I was a kid, so I didn't know what it was. All I knew is something was wrong. And that person was my stepdad. Married my mom, had two little girls with my mom, and lived with us all the way up until I left the house. So I left at 17. I was no longer there. But I knew him from 14, I think, to 17. Probably a little longer than that. 13. So, yeah. So anyways, it was my mom's husband. And this particular individual had mental illness. Now, the things he used to do, I thought that guys just did. But I started noticing that him and my mother would fight. When I say fight, I mean, it would be like a Saturday morning, and we would start hearing yelling, and then we would hear the floor shake and the walls shake, and you know, we knew something was going on, and we'd run in the living room, and him and my mother would be literally fighting, and she would have two knives in her hand, and he would be holding her down. So it was real like that, you know. They would often get into those type of fights, and my mom would call the police, and she would call the police would come and take him, and it wasn't like it is now when the police show up, everybody dies. She would call the police, and you know, they pretty much knew our family because of his mental illness. And then my mom would be crying, looking out the window at him, wrestling with the police, and the police didn't draw the revolver when you start wrestling with them. You know, he was also a martial artist, so he could get out of their holds really easy, but he never struck them. He just didn't want to go. So what would happen is my mom's friends, some of her girlfriends, they knew him also, and would come and be like, you need to go with the police. And they would convince him to go. And eventually he would come back. But like I said, I never knew that this was mental illness. Anyways, so we had our differences. Me and him got in a fight when I was 17. You know, his mental illness never spilled over on me, really. It was more towards my mom. And, you know, that's why I didn't recognize it. Because the things he did or said to me wasn't what I would consider mentally ill. That's why I didn't recognize it. until my mother started telling me that he's sick. And I was like, well, what's wrong with him? She's like, he's sick in the head. And I was like, well, what's wrong with him? You know, she was basically trying to tell me he had mental illness, but I don't even think she knew the definition for it. She just knew something wasn't clicking up here with him. And the older he got, the worse it got. So eventually they had to get divorced, you know. And when they got divorced, you know, they definitely separated, but they didn't live too far from each other. Eventually my mother moved into Wilkinsburg. He didn't move far from there. He was like living like 3 or 4 blocks down because they still loved each other. They had a toxic, mentally ill relationship that drove me crazy because I wanted to take him off of this planet for putting his hands on my mother. But my mother, you know, was like, no, like, he's just sick. And I was like, I can't stand you fighting and him hitting you. I can still see the image of him on holding my mother down. And I'm just, you know, and I'm thinking, you know, you're mentally ill too. And kind of find out, you know, she had some serious issues too. So they were just 2 birds of a feather that were just sick together. And they really didn't seek help as far as a psychiatrist or thing. They would just call the police, separate, and then get back together, and the same thing would happen over and over again. Until finally, they called it quits, and after they got divorced, he would still petition the, you know, can I see you? Can I make love to you? Type thing. You know, with my mom, I was long gone. I was in the service. But I would come home and, you know, I would see her and then I would see him, you know, and eventually he couldn't take it anymore. So, you know, his kids, he watched his kids grow up, and, you know, what he did affected his 2 little girls, and it seriously affected him to the point where he just couldn't take it anymore, and he ended his life. He went down to he went downtown, as a matter of fact. One of them, we have 3 rivers in Pittsburgh that all come together, and he went down to one of those rivers where we used to fish. He used to take us fishing in the freezing cold, freezing. And he put his wallet on the bank. He jumped in. That was it. The currents are too strong to swim in. Once you go a certain foot under, the current just takes you. You're not coming back up because it's doing like this. So he got swept away. But he made sure people knew that he did it himself. This was a man who was a martial artist. Like, mentally, you gotta be, you know. So I just want to let you people know that mental illness is real, and it's touched my family. It goes way further than depression, and it's hereditary. Yeah, it's real. If you're mentally sick, you know, like I got depressed once, and I didn't go to a doctor. I just toughed it out. But I'm telling you guys now, don't do what I did. And don't do what he did. If you're mentally sick, call somebody. Get some help. God loves you.